What do we say to people who are worried about climate change, but are also worried about the impact on jobs, especially in coal communities, of the world moving away from coal? Hi, I'm Richard Dennis, Chief Economist at the Australia Institute.
Hi, I'm Polly. I'm an advisor in the Climate and Energy team at the Australia Institute.
Welcome to Ask an Economist. Our question today is about coal and transition. I'm worried about climate change and think Australia needs to do a lot more to reduce emissions. But I'm also worried about the people who'll lose their jobs in the coal industry. What do you say to those coal miners who care about climate change, but also care about losing their jobs too? What an important question. I mean, let's start at the beginning and say when anyone loses their job, it's a tragedy. Absolutely. Whether people lose their jobs because of COVID, whether people lost their jobs because the car industry went offshore, whether people lost their jobs because photo development labs shut down, or because we're transitioning away from coal, unemployment is a terrible human and economic tragedy. And we should always be nice to the unemployed. We should have more generous unemployment benefits. We should invest more in retraining people across all industries. But you're right, there's no doubt that as the world moves away from burning more coal, we're going to employ less people to make coal. So, Polly, what's the rest of the world got to say about this transition? What are the people we sell coal doing?
Yeah, I find it really interesting that the debate in Australia is kind of framed around this idea that we, like whoever we is, the government or activists, like are wanting to come into coal mines today, like with big wooden planks, like nailing them to the door. I guess
shutting them down.
That's harder on an open cut mine, but throwing a tarp over them, like, and shutting it down now. It actually doesn't really matter what we want to do in Australia. Like, it's fine if we want to make coal, but what really matters is if the world is going to buy the coal we make.
You think demand might have something to do with it?
I was going to ask you about that. I'm not an economist, but there's this concept I've heard called supply and demand, and surely you need to have customers.
Yeah, so exactly. Usually people make stuff because people want to buy stuff.
Yeah.
And we talk in Australia about how much coal we want to supply, but actually what matters is how much coal the world's demanding.
Yeah.
So are our trading partners demanding more coal or less?
So we sell a lot of coal to the world. We're like, in terms of thermal coal, which is what is used to make electricity, we are the world's second largest exporter of thermal coal. And our three biggest customers are Japan, China,
and Korea.
South Korea. Yep.
South Korea.
Yep. Yep, South Korea.
The ones that vote.
Yeah. The thing is, so they buy heaps of coal. The thing is, all those countries have fairly recently, at the end of last year, set net zero targets. So Japan and South Korea have set a net zero target for 2050. China is a little bit later, 2060, but it's still there. They've also got shorter term emissions reduction targets. And really importantly, they've said they're going to phase out coal. I think Japan has said they're going to be shutting down 100, which is close to all of their coal-fired power stations by 2030. South Korea is going to be closing down half by 2030, and even China, who haven't committed explicitly to shutting down coal plays a less important role in their energy mix now, just because renewables and gas are cheaper. So it's all declining. And what that means, if they're not using coal-fired power anymore, they're not going to be buying coal from Australia.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of our biggest customers are promising to buy less coal, and we've got politicians in Australia saying we want to make more coal. This is not really. So maybe all these countries are lying. Have you considered that?
I mean, that's probably the easiest. We could just shut this down now and say they're lying. Yep, coal.
So maybe the whole world is lying, or maybe some politicians in Australia are lying to Australian coal workers. So in terms of the question about transition, the transition is going to be determined by the decisions made by our trading partners.
That's right.
Australia's not in charge of the world demand for coal, but we are in charge of the Australian supply of coal. So if you really care about people who work in coal mines today, as I do, then the first thing you do is stop building new coal mines, right? Because the people who are working in existing coal mines, their jobs are already in danger. If we start building new coal mines, that's just going to bring forward the date at which existing coal miners are going to lose their jobs. We don't mine any coal in far north Queensland at the moment, but when Adani in the Galilee Basin opens up, then all of a sudden we got more competition to sell coal to a shrinking customer base. The second thing is we can look to countries like Germany that have managed their transition really well, and what the Germans have done is basically said, well, we're not going to build any new mines, and actually every time people retire from the industry, we're going to try and make sure that the individuals who leave and that when their jobs need filling, the jobs are filled by people who already work in the industry. So they're kind of rationing the jobs in a shrinking industry. And then of course there's the enormous amount of money we spend on subsidies at the moment. Subsidies for existing coal mines, subsidies to explore for new coal and new oil. If we pivot away from subsidising causing climate change, we could spend a lot of money on the people and the communities that are affected by this. So yeah, unless we're going to invent recreational uses of coal...
we could pivot to the paperweight market, the lucrative paperweight market.
Oh, we need Scott Morrison. This is coal. Don't be scared of it. We can all have it in our home.
Paper that we're not using anymore.
So if the world doesn't want to buy our coal, we can keep producing it if we want. We really can. But usually you only make things that people want to buy. The rest of the world saying they don't want to buy our coal, that means there will be a transition away from coal in Australia. How quickly that occurs, how nice we are to the people who lose their jobs, how much support we give to the communities that are affected, that's up to us. But if the world doesn't want to buy our coal, and we want to keep mining coal, then we're going to have mountains of coal that we can ski down, or I don't know, maybe there'll be tourist attractions. Maybe people can go and look at the big lumps of unsold coal.
I feel like we could replace the word coal with any obsolete technology and it would quickly become apparent how ridiculous this is. Imagine if Keith Pitt was up there at a press conference saying the mini disc the world is going to be buying our mini discs for
floppy disks even.
Yeah, floppy disks, whatever, Betamax, faxes, pages. The world is going to be buying
let's make them.
No one would buy it. Yeah,
let's make them anyway.
People are going to buy them.
We will decide how much of these things we make and the
Everyone
circumstances in which we make them. So yeah, look, unfortunately for those that work in the coal industry, it is a bit like working for Kodak in the 90s. The transition is taking place. Should we be nice to the people who are affected? Absolutely. Should we invest in the communities that are affected? Absolutely. But can we in Australia, through our decisions to subsidise or expand the production of coal, prop up the world demand for it? No, we can't. So the transition will happen. We just have to be nice to people.
We make these videos so you can participate in the climate debate in Australia. If you found this useful, share it with your friends, help inform them, help them participate too. Share it with your mum, your nan, just anyone you know.
And please send us questions so we can answer them for you.